The second-generation Skoda Octavia is easily confused with its predecessor, as it has changed very little in appearance. But in technical terms, the difference is quite significant. And in terms of reliability, this model is noticeably superior to the first-generation car. The debut of the first-generation Skoda Octavia took place in the fall of 1996, and in the winter of the following year, the model went into production. It was a 5-door hatchback. And in 1998, a station wagon joined him. Engines are only 4-cylinder, petrol 1.6L, 75 and 101 LS, 1.8L, 125 and turbocharged 150 horsepower, as well as 1.9L diesels, 68.90 and 110 horsepower. In 2000, modernization was carried out, as a result of which the front bumper and headlights have only slightly changed. But new engines appeared: gasoline 1.4 liters, 75 horsepower, and 2 liters, 116 horsepower, as well as a 1.9-liter turbo diesel, 101 horsepower. The sporty 180 horsepower version of the Octavia RS has been added to the range of modifications. Sales of the second-generation model started in 2004. The appearance of the car has changed slightly, but technically it has been completely updated. There were also engines borrowed from the Golf V with direct fuel injection. The Octavia II is head and shoulders above its predecessor in terms of the quality of the finish and quality factor of the materials. An updated version of the RS, 200 horsepower, got on the conveyor in 2006. A year later, the Octavia Scout appeared, built on the basis of an all-wheel drive station wagon. Restyling changed the design of the car much more than when changing generations. Held in 2008. Along with the bumpers, grille, and optics, the interior has also been updated. The line of engines was replenished with a 1.4L petrol turbo engine, 122 horsepower. Since the appearance of the first Skoda Octavia, they have enjoyed well-deserved popularity among our motorists. Who will refuse a solid, high-quality European, read, German, car, which is much cheaper than analogs? Octavia is built on a common basis with the recognized class leader VW Golf 4. Inheriting from him also engines, suspensions, and transmission. In general, under the packaging with the name Octavia. In fact, hiding the fourth Golf. The second generation was also based on Golf components and assemblies, but already the fifth generation. Thanks to the use of a new corporate platform, the Skoda rear suspension has become multi-link, and an electro-hydraulic power steering has appeared in the steering. All this has a beneficial effect on driving performance and handling. Octavia and, like its predecessor, it was produced in the bodies of a 5-door hatchback and station wagon. In addition to front-wheel drive versions, there were modifications with the 4x4 transmission. In the line of engines, gasoline engines 1.4L, 75 horsepower, 1.6L, 102 and 115 horsepower, and 2L, 150 horsepower, as well as 2 turbo diesels, 1.9L, 105 horsepower, and 2 liters, 150 horsepower. With all engines from 1.4 to 1.9 liters, a 5-speed mechanics was combined, and with 2-liter engines, a 6-speed automatic. For 1.6 and 2-liter petrol versions, a 6-speed hydro-mechanical automatic was offered, and for diesel ones, a 6-speed DSG transmission. The secondary market is dominated by Octavia with a Russian residence permit. Less common are specimens brought from Europe in pre-crisis times. Owners of the Skoda Octavia will not have to complain about the tightness in the cabin. The dimensions of the model compared to the previous one have increased markedly in the same way as the wheelbase. It is spacious inside. Both front and rear can accommodate 3 passengers quite comfortably. The driver's seat will comfortably accommodate people of any build thanks to a wide range of seat and steering column adjustments, adjustable in height and reach. Ergonomics and workmanship are at the highest level, and the quality factor of the materials is not inferior to those used on the Golf. If the first Octavia was the champion in the segment in terms of trunk volume, 528 liters, then the second-generation hatchbacks have this figure even higher, 560 liters. Not far behind in practical station wagon, the cargo compartment of which is 1,620 liters. Record figures for Golf-class cars with this type of body. Soundproofing is great. Some owners of low-power versions of the Octavia even complain that in extreme conditions it is impossible to determine by ear what gear and what speed the engine is running due to the complete acoustic vacuum. The strong body is reliably protected from corrosion. Even on the oldest specimens, traces of corrosion cannot be detected. Emergency options do not count. Over time, traces remain on the body only from the rear door seals, which wipe the wheel arches adjacent to them to the metal. On dealer cars, these elements were painted under warranty. Buying a used Octavia will learn at least 4 airbags, ABS with brake force distribution along the axles, power front windows and heated side mirrors, as well as air conditioning. However, when buying a new car, the first owner usually did not save on options. Therefore, used Skoda Octavia are often found even with traction control, alloy wheel rims, climate control, music installation and onboard computer. It will not be difficult to find an option with an automatic or all-wheel drive transmission. For those who value practicality in a car above all, it will not be easy to find a decent version of the Octavia Combi station wagon. There are few of them in our secondary market. The electrical part and the operation of the interior equipment of the Czech car do not cause any complaints. Sometimes, however, there are minor failures in the onboard network, but they do not pull on statistics. But the outdoor lighting bulbs burn out en masse. For those who do not have the skills to repair a car, it is better not to change them yourself. Waste only time and nerves. Engine. Under the hood of the Skoda Octavia are 4-cylinder engines. Some of them, such as 1.4L, 75 horsepower, and 1.6L, 102 horsepower, migrated from the first model. There are also modern ones with direct fuel injection FSI, 1.6 liters, 115 horsepower, and 2 liters, 150 horsepower, as well as 2 liters, 200 horsepower, turbocharged. The latter was intended for the Octavia RS. In addition, since 2007, the range of engines has been replenished with a 1.8 turbo petrol, 160 horsepower, and a 2-liter turbo diesel, 170 horsepower. Power units are hardy and reliable, subject to timely competent service. This is especially true for FSI variants. They meet Euro 4 environmental standards, so they are extremely demanding on fuel quality. In addition, the 2-liter engine has a poor cold start when the temperature is about 0 degrees Celsius. But the 200-strong power unit with direct fuel injection and turbocharging has not yet created such problems. During its operation, it is recommended to let it idle for a couple of minutes before turning it off to avoid overheating of the turbine bearings. Engine oil on gasoline modifications is recommended to be changed after 15,000 kilometers, and on turbo diesels, twice as often. Timing belt, every 90,000 kilometers. FSI spark plugs are strongly recommended by servicemen to be updated at each MOT, since these engines are extremely sensitive to misfires. This defect results in the failure of the converter, which costs from 60,000 to 98,000 rubles, depending on the engine and modification of the machine. Turbo diesels are durable as long as they run on high-quality fuel. Several fillings with diesel fuel, the content of water and sulfur in which is not up to standard, can damage the fuel pump and nozzles. Transmission. If minor breakdowns occasionally occur in mechanical 5- and 6-speed gearboxes, then there are no complaints about the reliability of the machine and DSG. In the latter, however, the box control unit may fail if the battery is completely discharged. Therefore, in cases where the machine was de-energized for some reason, this unit will have to be reprogrammed. And the DSG box also has one design feature. When driving, pull-in, when switching from first speed to second and back, twitches are noticeable. Suspension. Fully independent suspension, front, McPherson struts, rear, multi-link with the effect of passive steering, is practically devoid of childhood diseases. Of the periodically occurring malfunctions of the chassis, perhaps only the silent blocks of the front and rear levers can be distinguished. These elements are usually changed after 50,000 to 60,000 kilometers. Even the struts and stabilizer bushings last 1.5 times longer. Ball joints, steering rods, and shock absorbers. Some Schumachers manage to disable up to 100,000 kilometers. Brake pads, both front and rear, wear out almost simultaneously, but not earlier than 30,000 kilometers. Discs last 2 to 3 times longer than pads. Outcome. A used Octavia is a pretty good deal. However, it will not be possible to save much when buying it. The relatively inexpensive first generation somehow imperceptibly evolved into a modern, very carefully assembled and reliable Octavia II car. This model is worth the money that is asked for it. It is only a little cheaper than its German donor VW Golf V, both when buying and in operation.